Hi there, this is Professor Eckhouse, and I'm going to talk about volume and surface area of rectangular solids, spheres, cylinders, and the volume of a cone. All of these things that we're talking about volume are going to be measured in cubic units, regardless of the unit, centimeters, inches, feet, meters, it doesn't matter. That unit itself will be cubed, not the number cubed, although we do cube it depending on the shape, but when we say cubic units, we mean the unit itself is cubed. All right, so volume and surface area of a rectangular solid works like this. Volume of a rectangular or regular shape that's the same on the top and the bottom is basically the area of the top or bottom, like this area right here, times what this is, the height, right? So this is an area right here times the height. So the area of this would be 3 times 4, which is 12, and the height is 2. So the volume then is going to be the area of the top or bottom times 2. So that's going to be 24. Okay, we're going to look at an actual formula for that, but I wanted you to understand where this is all coming from. All right, so getting rid of that, now let's talk about surface area. So surface area is the area of all the surfaces. Imagine you're taking a piece of wrapping paper and you're going to wrap this thing. So basically, what is the area of the wrapping paper you would use to cover every single side? All right, so imagine that you can see the back of this. How big is it? How big is that? Hopefully you see that it's going to be the same size. And imagine you can see the left side. How big is that going to be? The same as the right. But let's go and look at this. So this is a builder where you can build the blocks. I don't know why the left side just disappeared, but it did. So you can add more blocks or take blocks away, but this is the shape that we were just working with. So hopefully you can see that the top and the bottom are the same size. The front and the back are the same size. And the left and the right, which are in red there, are also the same size. Okay, so that means when we do the surface area, we can say, okay, well, the front times 2, right, because it's the same. And the top times 2, because they're the same. And the left or right times 2. Right, so that's where the formulas are going to come from. All right, so having a little failure on my OneNote here. Let's see if it comes back. So the surface area is going to have a formula that does that for us. But really what I'd like you to know is just come up with the area of the front times 2, the top times 2, one of the sides times 2. All right, so volume and surface area of a rectangular solid. The volume is the length times the width times the height. And the surface area is 2 times LH. Well, why LH? Well, L is here and H is here, and that's going to give us the area of the front. And then you take it times 2, right? And then the same thing, 2 times LW. 2 times LW is going to be L and W. That's going to be the area of the top or the bottom times 2, and so on. All right, and then we've got the width times the height. All right, so for a rectangular solid with length 6, width 8, and height 2, all in centimeters, find the volume and the surface area. All right, so what I always try to get in the habit of doing is labeling a picture, especially if it's given. So you've got all the units right here, and you don't have to go sort through the sentence to try to find everything. So what is the volume here? Pause the video and give this a try. So hopefully you found that 6 centimeters by 8 centimeters by 2 centimeters, and it doesn't matter what order you do that in. And you're going to get 96 centimeters. And what is the unit on that? What's the power? That's going to be cubed, cubic centimeters. All right, so the surface area is going to be 2 times one set of sides. So let's just do this set here. And then we're going to get, so that's going to be 6 times 8. Plus 2, now pick another pair. How about 6 times 2? Sure, 6 times 2. And then let's do another pair. So we've got the 6 and the 8, we've got the 6 and the 2. What about the 8 and the 2? So it's basically a combination of every single one. You don't need to just use a formula and try to figure out which is which. All right, so I didn't put units in here because it's just I wanted you to focus on the numbers. So this first one, 6 times 8, is 96, and that's going to be centimeters squared because each of these was centimeters, so centimeters squared, plus 2 times 6 times 2, that's 2 times 12, that's 24, and that's centimeters squared, plus 2 times 8, that's 16, times 2 is 32 centimeters squared. All right, when you add all those up, you're going to get 152 square centimeters, or centimeters squared. All right, here's another one for you. If you don't need it, you can skip it and go on to the next problem, or you can pause the video and give it a try. All right, so I've got 8 feet, 7 feet, and 3 feet. So the volume is going to be length times width times height, which is going to be 7 times 8 times 3, and those are all in feet. Just didn't write it down this time. And that gives us 168. Now it was feet, and it's volume, so we know it's cubed. So feet cubed. Focus on the units, make sure you understand those. All right, the surface area is going to be 2 times 1 set of sides, 7 times 8, and then pick another pair of sides, and I chose 8 times 3, and then pick a different pair of sides that hasn't been used yet, 7 times 3. Okay, that covers all of them. And it doesn't matter what order you do them in. So 2 times 7 times 8 is 112. The unit on that, because it's an area, is square feet. 2 times 8 times 3 is 48 square feet. And 2 times 7 times 3, that's 2 times 21, that's 42 square feet. Add all those up and you get 202 square feet. Okay, volume and surface area of a cube. So a cube is just a special rectangular solid that has all 3 sides exactly the same. So this side is just going to call S. Some places, some formulas will call it L. It doesn't matter what you call it, just as long as you understand that they're all the same. So the volume is length times width times height, which is S times S times S, so that's S cubed. The surface area, this front, just imagine the front, is S by S, so it's S squared. Well, so is this one, and so is this one. They're all S by S, which is S squared. So every single one is S squared. This one's S squared, this one's S squared. There's 6 of them, so we get 6s squared. It's the same as a rectangular solid, it's just a little easier actually. So try to use those formulas and find the volume and the surface area of this cube. All right, so the cube is 8.5 centimeters on each side, so that's the S. So we're going to get that the volume equals S cubed, so 8.5 centimeters cubed. So when you do that, you should get 614.125 centimeter cubed. All right, the surface area is going to be 6 times the side, 8.5 centimeters squared. Notice I'm using the units this time. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. Just depends on how messy it's going to make it. But either way, you need to think about what the unit will be at the end. All right, so when you put this in your calculator, do not square the 6. Only the 8.5. Be careful, and you should get 433.5 centimeters. And what's the unit? It's centimeters squared. All right, example 4. Same thing. You can try one more or you can skip it. All right, so the side is 14 inches, and the volume is going to be 14 inches cubed. Remember, volume is S cubed. Always a good idea to write down the formula first. And we get 2,744 cubic inches. All right, the surface area is going to be 6s squared, which is 6 times 14 inches squared. So don't square the 6, and you should get 1,176 inches squared, or square inches. All right, volume and surface area of a sphere. A sphere is a three-dimensional circle. For a sphere with radius r, the volume is going to be v equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And the surface area is going to be s equals 4 pi r squared. So you just have to follow the formulas. Make sure you read the problem carefully and that you know the difference between a radius and a diameter. So remember, radius is half the diameter. This is the radius. The diameter goes all the way across. But we are given a radius of 8 inches, so r equals 8 inches. And the volume is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. So now sometimes you're asked for an exact answer with pi. You can use the pi button. Other problems will say use 3.14 to approximate pi. So just watch the problem and make sure you do it correctly, because you will get a different answer. When these numbers are big, it makes the answer different. All right, so we've got 4/3. I'm going to use 3.14 just in case you don't have the button handy. And r is 8 inches, and it is cubed. Put this in your calculator. If you've got a fraction button, you can use the fraction button for the 4/3. At the end, though, you will have to convert it to a decimal by using the toggle button. Or you can say 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 8 cubed. Make sure you only cube the 8. All right, and you should get 2,143.573 repeating. So now it says to round to the tenths. So this rounds to the tenths are right here. So what is the 7 going to do to that? And we get 2143.6. And that is going to be inches, and its volume, so they are cubed. All right, the surface area is just a different formula. We're just going to use surface area equals this one right up here, 4 pi r squared. 4 pi r squared. All right, so we get 4 times, I'm using 3.14 again. You can use the pi button. You'll just get a little different answer. And then we've got 8, and I'm just going to use the inches this time, 8 inches squared. All right, so when you put this in your calculator, you're going to get 803.84. We're supposed to round to the tenths, which is this one right here. So that's going to be 803.8, and the unit is measured in inches, and since it's a surface area, it is squared. All right, you can try another one if you'd like. Okay, so the volume, this one has a radius of 5 centimeters. And so the volume is going to be 4, again, write the formula down every time just to keep you from messing up. And you get 4/3. I'm going to use 3.14. You can use the pi button if you'd like. And the radius is 5 centimeters, so 5 centimeters cubed. And this is going to give me 523.3 repeating. And so we're going to have to round to the tenths. So if it's 0.3333 like that, and we're rounding to the tenths right there, this is going to be 523.3. It's in centimeters, and it is cubed because it's volume. All right, the next one, surface area is 4 pi r squared. So remember, it's just like if you tried to wrap a ball in paper, how much paper would you use? It'd be a little hard because it's a ball, but that's the idea. All right, so we've got 4 times 3.14 times 5, and that is centimeters squared. Again, you don't have to put the unit in the problem if you can just keep track of it. So when you put this in the calculator, you should get 314 centimeters squared. We don't have to round because it was exact. All right. So next we're looking at cylinders. So an example of a cylinder is a soda can. It has 2 round and parallel bases, just like a soda can. The height is the distance between the bases. The radius is the radius of the circle at the top or the bottom. Since they're the same, it should be the same. Notice the similarities between a rectangular solid and a cylinder. So the area of the top times the height is going to give us the volume, right? So we get the base times the height. The base is length times width times height. So the volume is length times width times height. We talked about that at the beginning. So now let's think about it the same way with this. So we've got the base times the height. So what is the base? The base is pi r squared times the height. So the volume is pi r squared h. All right, what about surface area? That is a little more complicated. So it's going to be the surface area of the top and the bottom. So the area of this is pi r squared, and the area of the bottom is pi r squared, right? So that's the total area of top and bottom is 2 pi r squared. But what about the label? So this is a green bean can. What about the size of the label? Well, it's just a rectangle, right? So here's our rectangle right over here. Here's our rectangle. And the height is the width of the rectangle. The length of the rectangle is going to be this circumference unrolled. And circumference is just 2 pi r. So that means the length is 2 pi r and the width is the height. That means the area of this right here is 2 pi r, sorry, not squared, r h. 2 pi r, that's the length, that's L, and this is W, L times W. All right, so we just have to add all that up. All right, so this one, the top, let's call this the top, and we'll call this the bottom, and we'll call this, I guess, the label. Okay, so the area of this is pi r squared, plus the area of this is pi r squared, plus the area of this is 2 pi r h. So this is the area. But because these are both the same, we can call this 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And there is our area, surface area of a cylinder. Okay, so there's our formulas together. There's the volume and there's the surface area. So why don't you give this a try? A cylinder has a height of 6 centimeters and a radius of 4. You don't need to use the circles and the rectangle if you don't want to, but it's there for you if you want it. All right, so this has a height of 6 centimeters and a radius of 4 centimeters. So there's our information. We don't have to even look back at the problem now. All right, so the volume is pi r squared h. So that's 3.14, or the pi button. R squared is, R is 4, so 4 squared, and the h is 6. And just put it in your calculator. You can do it all in one step. And it is 301.44 centimeters, and this is volume, so they are cubed. All right, so surface area. Again, the radius is here, right? And this length here is going to be the label unrolled, so that's 2 pi r, and this is the height of the can, h. So our surface area is going to be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. All right, so 2 times 3.14 times r is 4, and that is squared, plus 2 times 3.14 times r, which is 4, times h, which is 6. So this first one is 100.48, and it's an area, so it's centimeters squared, plus 152.72 centimeters squared. When you add those up, you're going to get 251.2 centimeters squared. That's your final answer. I'm going to give us a little more space here. All right, final answer. Okay. You can try another one if you would like. These are good to try again. Okay, so this one, the height is 9 inches and the radius is 7 inches. So the volume is pi r squared h, 3.14. R is 7 squared, h is 9. When you put this in your calculator, you're going to get 1,384.74, and the unit is inches. It's volume, so it's cubed. All right, the surface area is going to be 2 pi r squared. So remember, again, this is r right here, and that's 7, so 7. And this is the h, which is 9. And this is 2 pi r. All right, so 2 pi r squared, oops, plus 2 pi r h. Again, write down the formula before you begin so you don't mess it up. 2 times 3.14 times r squared, 7 squared, plus 2 times 3.14 times 7 times 9. All right, so you should get 307.72, and these are in inches, since it's a surface area, so it's inches squared, plus 395.64. And again, if you're using the pi button, you're going to get a little different answer than me. And that is going to equal 703.36 inches squared. All right. Make sure I've got all my numbers right since this is going on record. Okay. All right, last topic here is this is a regular cone. So we're going to do volume of a cone. The height is perpendicular to the base. That's what regular means. It's everything is kind of square. So picture a cone inside a cylinder. How much of the cylinder do you think it takes up? How much do you think it takes up? So remember, a cylinder is pi r squared h, and this actually takes up 1/3 of the cylinder. 1/3. So the formula is 1/3 pi r squared h. It's just the cylinder, but a third of it. Okay, so this right here is a cylinder. All right, so very straightforward. The radius is just the radius across the circle part. And the h is the distance from the point to the circle at a right angle. So h is 10 inches, and I definitely recommend doing this so you don't mess things up later. 4 inches. All right, so our volume is going to be 1/3 pi r squared h. So that is 1/3 times pi, or 3.14. R squared is 4 squared. Make sure you put the right things in the right place, and the h is 10. When you put this in your calculator, you should get 167.46666 forever, and they want us to go to the 10th place. So the 10th place is that one. So what is the 6 going to do to it? We're going to round to right here. So that is going to give us 167.5, and the volume is in inches, and so it is it's cubed because it's volume. Okay, 2 more. Find the volume of a cone with a height 18 and a radius of 6. So we're going to do h equals 18 centimeters, and the radius equals 6 centimeters. So the volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. So that is 1/3 times 3.14 times 6 squared times 18. Put that in your calculator, and you should get 678.24. To the 10th place, that is going to go to 678 point. The 4 does not round it up, so it stays at 2. And it's measured in centimeters, and since it's volume, it is cubed. All right, last one. Give this one a try. Okay, so you may have used 2 as your radius. Is that the radius? No, the radius is 1 inch, and the height is 6. So if you did that, you might want to pause and redo it and give it a try. All right, so the volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. So that is 1/3 times 3.14. R is 1 squared times 6. So you should get 6.28. Rewrite that, 6.28. And they want it to the tenths of an inch. So that's going to be to this place value here, and that's going to be 6.3 inches what? Since this is volume, it is cubed. All right, thank you for watching.